to the Trinity Force Podcast. Yo, it's that Triforce cast beaming straight to your home. Grab a beer so we know Pone ain't drinking alone. Send an email, a quick tweet, just pick up the phone. Leave a message at the beep if you're a creep, watch your tone. Discuss the meta game, patch notes, whatever helps your stats most. Obi-Pone Kenobi is your last hope to snatch gold. So grab your headphones and join in the fun. We'll try enforcing some jokes and some cringeworthy puns. Yo, we can make it together, people. Trinity Force Podcast. These boys are second to none. Now that's the end of the intro. It's time we begun.
Hey guys, welcome to the Trinity Force Podcast, your premier League of Legends podcast. I got to toss it in there at least once in a while, right? Like once in a blue moon, we just have to start the podcast and say, we are the podcast.
Makes us sound more prestigious.
When have you ever said that?
I used to say it a long time ago for fun, more or less.
I think that you need to have that in like a review or something, like when movie trailers have like this is a great movie, and then they actually reference something. If somebody had said this is the premier League of Legends podcast, then you can say that to start it. I mean, sure, but we can't really reference ourselves. That seems a little bit disingenuous.
It'd have to
I'll write a tweet about it. That'll fix it.
Well, no, that is like the same as if you know those like B-roll movies that throw in random clips, or like even better, the commercials are like, this was the best product I ever used. It cleared up my acne in 3 days. That'd be the same thing. Like just throwing random people onto our slogans and on our we're gonna get a poster board in LA. The best podcast, random person from the internet.
We could have done that with like PAX and grabbed random people and said they are the best League of Legends podcast that's ever given me cups.
Nobody's saying that didn't happen at PAX.
Yeah, we don't know what happened. How many people were there? Somebody could have mentioned us at some point and said we were awesome.
Probably happened.
That's right. It's Shorty Dinger's Trinity Force.
I'm just going to let that pronunciation go.
You're welcome.
Schweidingers. As a European, I am vaguely offended.
I'm offended as just a person who has ears.
This will, Skyen, that'll not be the first time, nor the last time you are offended while you're on our show.
Yeah, I do believe that's kind of half the appeal.
Well, we have a special guest here, Skyen, who's joining us because we're going to be talking about Yorick tonight, as well as everybody. Welcome back, Dom, onto the podcast.
Welcome, Dom.
Welcome, Dom.
Shut up, phone. The hell?
Don't call him phone.
Yeah, don't listen. Dom has been on for all of
that. I've had worse nicknames.
Anyways, yes, Dom. Welcome. Glad to see you. My phone is too.
Dom is back. He should be staying for the most part. He'll be on for at least one episode a week as we continue to move forward. There's going to be some changes coming up with the show, and we're going to be shuffling some stuff around, so you'll hear Dom a little bit more. And you might hear some old guests, some new, and we're going to have a lot of fun with it. So I hope you guys stick around and listen to what we're going to be doing as we move into the future. Speaking about the future, if you want to get better at League of Legends and you want to get that future of gold or platinum, whatever it is, you guys should probably go sign up for Vantage League. You can go to vantagesports.gg/Trinity Force and sign up for $15 a month. You'll get personalized stats for every game you play. You'll get coaching sessions. You'll be able to talk to Cubes, their overall LCS coach and analyst, and I'm like stumbling through this, the worst ad thing ever. Basically, you get in a Slack channel and you can be like, "Hey Cubes, I'm really bad at AD carry. What should I do better?" And he will do a live chat session and answer those for you. It's your personal coach to ask anything and everything. Plus, there's like a community there, just like Trinity Force, that you can ask questions to. And so yeah, vantagesports.gg/Trinity Force. It's a great service that is out there offering you to get a way to get better at this game. It is a great fill-in for Battle Arena, and I encourage everybody to go out and sign up for it.
I was going to say it's like our Discord, except they actually try to help you get better, as opposed to the opposite, or just keeping you net neutral.
Man, no way. Our Discord is hopping during the day. There is a group in there. I mean, we've got like 250 people that sit AFK in Discord and use it all the time, but there is a core of like 15 to 20 people who talk all day, every day. So if you're bored at work, join our Discord, discord.trinityforcenetwork.com. So let's just jump right into it. Let's talk Yorick, because he has finally had a rework. One of those champions that has been just a pain in the ass to play against and a pain in the ass to put it into any team comp, has had you can't even say complete overhaul.
The quintessential win lane lose game champion.
Yeah. Oh my God, what a cancer! I just and as for his visuals, I'm just praising the Riot gods that they finally removed that horrendous abomination from the game because holy crap was
You
he
didn't
ugly.
like his hop?
Which is actually
he
an
skipped
accurate
the game.
description of what he looked like.
But like he looks like he should be like a creep in Warcraft 3 or something. He was awful. He was just this bulgy mess of nothing. Ugh. Horrifying.
That'd be incredible
So,
if that's what happened. If they had just like, guys, we got to push out a champion. We've delayed so long. What do we do? Oh, we've got this. Let's just steal this from Warcraft 3. We got it. This will be super easy. It looks terrible because it looks like he's limping or something, and I guess a shovel's a weapon. But all right, yeah, let's go for it. Put him out.
That wouldn't be surprising. He came out back during the champ every 2 weeks release cycle.
it's appropriate. I mean, he's a complete cancer and he looks like a tumor. So
Man, so
visually
mean
makes
to
sense.
Yorick.
I hate that guy. He's so
Well, let's just as we do with all these, let's just start talking about his visuals now and how they've updated specifically his splash art, his in-game model, and whatnot. And that has to do a lot with his lore as well, which we did step and take a look back on. And like the prominent piece of his splash art, besides the shovel, is definitely the vial, I would say, on his neck, because that's the most illuminated, most colorful piece besides the purple shawl that he wears over his head. And that vial is what's keeping him alive, essentially. In his lore, that vial, he only had a little bit of water left in it, and if you didn't read it, he goes to pour it into a fisherman's mouth and realizes that if he gets rid of the vial, he dies. So he has to keep that vial around his neck, or he dies as well.
So the fisherman is screwed?
In the lore, the fisherman is like, it said all his ribs are broken, and he's gasping for his last breath, and Yorick goes to pour the vial in the mouth and realizes that if he does that, he'll die, so he puts a cork on it, and then the fisherman...
gets turned into a ghoul,
basically. The fisherman's
preferable.
soul comes out of its body. The mist, as he's doing this, like the mist that's around him in the Shadow House is talking to him, and it's like, let it go. Let him come to us, like telling him to do, Yorick to tell him to do all that stuff. Soul goes away, and Yorick reses him and tells him to go off and find out more information.
Is this
sounds so
like
bad.
what's the science on this compared to like Iron Man? Like Iron Man, he needs that magnet in his chest to keep all the shrapnel from going to his heart. What's the similarities here with the vial of stuff?
Yorick had the vial before the Black Mist showed up and transformed everything into terribleness. Whereas Iron Man didn't, have that.
It's a vial of water from a spring where the ruined king tried to revive his wife by lowering her into the spring. That corrupted the spring. The whole Shadow Isles thing just got completely fucked up, and Yorick survived because he was one of the only people who had a little bit of the original Blessed Isles water left. That's basically his lore.
These aren't related then. Like very different universes.
No, this is not related to Iron Man.
Yeah, Iron Man is not a League of Legends champion.
And Iron Man eventually is able to remove the shrapnel from his chest and no longer needs the piece.
Spoilers
to keep him alive.
for those who are not up on Iron Man 2 or 3.
Yeah, who have not been alive
in.
in the last 10 years.
Yeah, right.
Hey, I just saw Civil War the other day, so I was a little bit
Hey,
behind.
me too. High five. I saw it on like Sunday night.
You're ahead of me.
It's a good movie. You should go see it. But
So anyway, his visuals. They've taken a lot of inspiration from Buddhist monks and from Eastern cultures in order to sort of shape the new Yorick's visuals. Like I said, the old Yorick was basically, he was just a generic zombie dude with an ugly hunchback and a shovel, and there was really nothing
And the
identifying to him. Yeah,
The
and the lantern coming
anglerfish
out of his
lantern,
back
which made no sense.
for no fucking reason. The new Yorick, it's very much, he has, his outfit is sort of...
The Undertaker from WWE.
Yeah, basically. And it's also based around, if you look at the thing he has on his back is a representative thing. It's a sort of design that's seen a lot in Asian Chinese cultures, where you have characters that have these grand back things on them, and it's a symbology that's common in Buddhist faith in particular, to have characters with these sort of things that symbolize various aspects of the religion. So they've drawn a lot of Asian inspirations with Yorick's new look, which makes him look much more distinctive. He looks much more like a character, like someone who used to be... Someone clearly dressed him. Like, it's a uniform of some sort he's wearing.
to be fair, in his
Just
lore,
rags.
he did go to a Buddhist temple and started practicing under them, but they never treated him as a full monk. They always saw him as a magic user and always were trying to study him and whatnot. So he was dressed in that type of garb and symbols and whatnot before the Shadow Isles became the Shadow Isles.
Yeah, they've also unified him a lot more with the Shadow Isles aesthetic. Basically, he looks like Callista now. He's got basically the same color scheme in his skin and the glowing eyes, and the whole outfit he wears really is very much in line with the color scheme of a champion like Callista, and much more like the other Shadow Isles champions.
They all
So
have
Riot
the same
has also,
color glow now, that teal. That
Yeah,
fresh
exactly.
Callista,
that-
Hecarim. Yeah.
That makes sense. When Yorick was created, the Shadow Isles was a place to throw champions that wasn't Summoners, the Summoner's Rift area, because they just got tired of going to one place over and over again. But I mean, y'all remember what Karthus looked like at the start of the game compared to what he looks like now. There's a very,
Yeah.
very, very different look.
Yeah, so there's a lot of aesthetic unification. That's what Riot has been doing for ages now with the reworks. It's just trying to, they fit Tarek into the whole Martargon aesthetic, and they put, what was the, lost my train of thought.
You're talking Talia with the...
Scion?
Talia got fitted into the Shurima aesthetic, and they did the same thing with the Nasus update, made him much more sort of Shurima-like. So they've been trying very hard to sort of clean up League of Legends lore and have fewer of the outliers. Yorick's rework is most like the Trundle rework, because Yorick used to be this character who didn't really fit in anywhere. Same as Trundle. And then they just, okay, we're going to align him with a faction now, really, and streamline him and make him look the same way as the rest of that faction does. The same thing they did with Trundle by making him, a Freljord troll.
Well, and speaking to lore, it's actually, in my mind, it's kind of, I can't say the word, it's not boring, but I like that they talk about this Ruined King, right? This is the Blade of the Ruined King. He wants to find this Ruined King and stuff, but as they're slowly retconning lore and they're slowly bringing new lore in, and they're trying to change it up to do whatever their end goal of the lore happens to be, it sucks from a standpoint of somebody who may enjoy the lore to not understand what all of these little pieces are, because Riot I don't know if Riot has not a flow chart, but a giant picture on the wall that says this is the Ruined King, this is what he's going to be, and he's going to come out in 2018, right? And so we're going to connect people to this. But who is the Ruined King? We've heard him talk about before. We've had the Blade of the Ruined King forever. Is Riot just throwing stuff in there to make lore work for them, and they're going to have to go back and do this again, or do they actually have a full idea and fleshed out? Because if they do, I'd really like to know all this, all these little pieces to it to help.
They've long loved teasing with stuff. We get that with a lot of champion releases and visual stuff in splash art. Just how many years later have people discovered that a later champion was in somebody's splash art, and then they didn't figure it out until way after the fact.
Not like we could ever figure it out, right?
Yeah, I mean, and I talked to some of the archivists and the art people at Riot, and my impression is that they do have sort of an idea of how they want things to fit together. They really are trying to streamline things, as evidenced by the board game that got leaked by accident is one expression of that, where Riot is we have streamlined enough of the lore around, the mecha characters in League of Legends that we feel comfortable putting them in a board game, because now we know if we create models for them to put in a board game, it's not going to change in the game 6 months later because we rework them into something completely different.
Right.
Yeah, more
that was actually my
lore.
first thought about what was going to happen with that board game. They're going to release this, and then fucking 6 months later they're going to change what the minions look like, because that
new version of the board game.
Riot's left arm doesn't know what the right is doing.
Yeah, I wanted to
Patch
reiterate
notes for a
that,
board game, that'll be a new one.
that I definitely agree that they seem to have a plan for their lore. It doesn't seem like, they have gone completely. They've taken a 180 from the approach that we're just going to throw this guy in and then we'll figure out where he lands later. That they're in the where does this person land phase. Where do we group everyone together? And the more concrete their lore, and the more that it's understandable and that people enjoy it, then they can make more material from that lore, more products like the board game. So I think that's kind of where they're going with it. Whereas, if we can get this lore in a good spot, then we can do more with it.
Well, you can do so many different things. You can spin that off into, just a board game is pretty, that doesn't require a whole lot of story afterwards. But if you've got a baseline for it, you kind of can say, oh, I understand where they're coming from with this. They could do so many things if they have a fleshed out lore that people are interested in, which, looking back, if you look back at it, back in season 1 and 2, even if you just go back to that old lore, you'd be like, did you guys just outsource this? or what happened with a lot of these lores, and I think
what
that
the
might
fuck was
not be a
Annie
horrible idea.
back in season one?
Go read Fiddlesticks' lore.
Yeah, it was very much, and it was pretty much just that
Alistar's is still the biggest crime scene in my mind.
they basically did just take like the original League of Legends Champions, which is a series of, okay, let's take a bunch of archetypes of all kinds of shitty stuff that's already been done in a million other video games and just shove them all into one game and they can fight each other. That was basically the premise of the aesthetic of League of Legends back in season 1. It's just, we have the evil Dark Child and we have the basically Anubis for no fucking reason, and then we have an angel and a demon and
angel.
People know
BDSM
about, right?
lady in spiked outfits and shit. Like, there was no cohesion whatsoever, and that's what they've been fighting against ever since.
The other option, well, I should say the counters to those, and what I like that they're actually putting together lore is, if you think about the other two, like, or we could maybe say 3 competitors for this, for League of Legends would be, Here's the Storm, which has enough history of these characters from different games. Smite, which, if you need to even think about how much lore there is there for all the like gods of different religions, there's so much there you have to pull from. And then Dota, that you can maybe argue a little bit more for that is on the League of Legends side. But there's lore that you can make the lore yourself is the thing.
Does Dota
whereas the
even
other
have
ones already
lore?
had everything. I don't think it does, but at least I don't know that it does.
It's got a very loose kind of, very vague lore where they can just kind of
Like
paint
League
by
in season
numbers
1.
inside.
Yeah.
It. Yeah,
But you have the freedom to make up whatever you want and really get creative with it, which was not the case 5 years ago. Now seems to be the case now that they have their feet are very set. I think they have enough money and time and people that they can do a lot of cool things with it.
Yeah. This room was about a movie. I mean, and that needs a sort of a strong base of lore where it's not like you go into the game and see something that's completely at odds what's in the movie, because that would be very bad branding. So if that rumored movie thing is actually something that they're working on, they need solid lore background too.
It'll turn into a Warcraft type thing though. The problem with something that has such a vast, huge, gigantic lore background that is, that has all these little working pieces, you get like the Warcraft movie that we just got, and if you don't know who a certain piece is or what a certain thing is, you might be lost. Like, why is suddenly Grom Hellscream here? Or why is he in the background? Why is suddenly Doomhammer showing up? Who is Doomhammer? You didn't really tell me who he is, right? Like, the little things like that happens, and then they don't explain it.
A movie seems like a weird way to go. I mean, I guess it makes sense from a branding standpoint because you're trying to expand the brand and get more users in, basically, get a bigger audience. But if you're trying to evolve the lore for the existing audience that you have, and I'm very sorry about the dog in the background that's kind of growling here.
Yes! Get angry, Dom.
No. If you are trying to just appeal to the existing audience that you have, it almost makes more sense to go with like webisodes or web type TV show and that type of thing.
Or maybe you can hire me to do a goddamn webcomic, Riot.
Listen, your dog is not happy about this lore discussion.
She's not. She's pissed.
She doesn't want anything to do with it.
You could end up doing, like, in the event that you did a movie, it would end up kind of like, and I'm not trying to keep going back to Marvel, I swear, but Civil War or any of the movies that are putting together a lot of characters all at once and saying, oh, we need to figure out what's happening with them during this 2-hour film. If you had something like a TV show or those miniseries, maybe like focusing on a battle that happened in League lore or something, that might work. But if you've got a movie for 130 characters that no one is really a main character in this, like, I guess there's a couple, like the more like lordly or king characters, you could maybe say, oh, they're League of Legends main character. Yeah. I guess.
I think if they did a movie, they dive into a specific, like they do Noxus versus Ionia or Demacia Nox. They'd focus in on something like that. But if they ever do a movie, it will be for the Chinese audience, because that's the whole reason the Warcraft movie succeeded, is that the Chinese audience ate that shit up like fucking like
candy.
Completely, yeah. I mean, I don't know what kind of candy they have in China, so...
Well, let's get this a little back on track. I know we want to keep talking lore, but...
What? We're
this
so
turned
on track.
kind of into T4 GG or something.
Lore's not a bad thing. When you look at Yorick, right, like, we know that probably lore is more interesting to talk about than his aesthetics, because besides the fact that he's an undertaker, essentially, right? So he's obviously going to be...
wrestler.
Yeah, he's going to be pale. He's going to have the same look as the Shadow Isles, etc. I do want to talk a little bit about his ghouls that he summons and how they have I'm actually a little disappointed in how the ghouls and the spirits look compared to the old
Same.
ones. Because the old
Same.
ones, they weren't fleshed out really, but they looked more like spirits, and now they looked like these like little crypt. They look like fleshy bags of with
They look
teeth.
like ghouls.
That's sort of also in terms of his lore. Basically, the lore is that he just takes a corpse, pours some black mist into it, and then turns into a mistwalker.
Yeah, it's
So
not the
as-
person
as
that previously
being flesh
occupied
bags,
the body.
Yeah. So being flesh bags makes sense from that perspective, but I agree they are boring, and they could have done more. I think with the ghouls, but I guess they didn't want to have like if you can summon up to 8 ghouls and they all have like wildly distinctive
shiny.
looks, then you get a mess visually. Like
Yeah, and every single one of his skins would cost 1,800 RP or something.
yeah.
Right.
Well, you could
Yeah.
still do something like a Warcraft 3 ghoul, for example, where they have the rotting flesh. Like they don't look great in Warcraft 3, but you can tell that those little spotches on them are supposed to be like flesh pieces that are pulling off. Like one of these ghouls, I would expect it to look that same way. Like it shouldn't be a full put together being. It should be something that he quickly manifested from the body of the enemy that he, pull it out of, and it should just be this disgusting looking creature. And I can understand we could have that disgusting looking creature talk with the old Trundle and how people didn't used to play Trundle because of that, but like
And now his traditional splash art is badass.
yeah. But something
A
like
lot
that,
of
I would
people
I
thirsting
would have
for
liked
that, yeah.
to see a little bit more care gone into the ghouls.
I agree.
I don't
I
mind
think they don't look like zombies at all. Is my problem with them. And just they're too clean, which is basically what Riot did with Yorick. They cleaned him up a hell of a lot,
Well, here's the problem.
and they kind of went too far. I think.
If you make them zombies, is now you have to make them leaping zombies, because that's part of his kit. They can't be the shambling zombies. You have to be the aggressive, lunge at your neck zombies.
They could still
What,
be
28
shambling
days
lunge
later?
at your neck zombies if they wanted to be.
No, there's no shambling and lunge at your neck. It's one or the other.
Oh, okay. So they have to be put
It's
together
either
to be able to jump.
Resident
because
Evil 5 zombies or way back Dawn of the Dead zombies.
So wait, are you telling me that if these zombies for some reason had just bones showing off their legs, that because of that they couldn't jump because they don't have muscles, so then they couldn't
Exactly.
work? Is that
See-
where we're going with
see,
this?
yes.
Somebody would complain about
It
it
has
that
to be
way.
scientific. It's very important, these kind of games.
I mean, if you watched a movie where there's a shambling, like you see the zombies shambling the entire movie, and then at the very end, one just jumps across a I don't know, a ledge between ledges or something, you'd be like, okay, that seems a bit odd.
Yeah, come on. I'm leaving the theater.
You guys are
Zombies that
overthinking
leap,
these
come
zombie
on.
movies here.
But they don't.
I'm
just
shamble.
thinking a
gonna
lot
quit
of
the
movies right
match.
But these don't even
Take the loss in
shamble.
promotion.
They jump. They like move.
Yeah, they don't shamble. They jump. They are
Right.
they're active 4-legged Left 4
They're pretty
Dead
easy
style. Whatever the jumping one was.
The leaper.
Hunters.
Hunter. Yeah, that sounds.
Yeah.
Sounds
Yeah.
Leaper.
I'm
Shall we
thinking-
talk about his kit then?
Yeah, can we talk about the game of League of Legends?
Hey, we could talk about the eulogy of Isles with the Maiden in the Mist and how the Maiden in the Mist looks really boring and uninspired as well.
Get out of
Yeah.
here.
Oh, I am waiting for somebody to do a Bruce Almighty crossover and have the Maid of the Mist, like an Maid of the Mist boat that comes in as that character and then makes the ghouls all wearing rain jackets or something.
Skyen, you could probably tell me more about what the Maiden in the Mist looks like, because in my head I can picture it. They tried to give it like a womanly feature with the things, the cloak or whatever she's got flowing off her back, and maybe the way she moves. And if I'm off base here, tell me. But what's going on here? What is the
She
Maiden
is
in the
hard
Mist?
to
Spectre.
see in the game.
Yeah, she's very blocky, honestly, in her design. When you look at her in gameplay, she's just sort of this kind of triangular shape that kind of moves, and it's got some arms that shoot lasers. And yeah, I don't really know exactly what they were going for, because she doesn't really look female to me particularly. She just looks like kind of a generic banshee kind of thing. So yeah, I also feel like that. I feel like his minions are not really distinct enough visually. Just in terms of what you could have done with ghosts and ghouls and zombies, it's all very clean and very stylistic. I would have liked to see a little bit more dirt and grime and ugliness.
You just criticize the old model for being that.
Yeah, but that's because that's all it was. That's literally the only feature it has. I would like to see a balance of nice and sleek and modern, but with some indication that we're dealing with the undead.
You do get that, thankfully, through his W. So
Yeah.
for those of you that aren't aware of what New York does, which you already should be, the W is a wall of souls. And they pop up and they just kind of rigidly sway or move. And I'm more than less... beggars can't be choosers with it. I like it. It's better than making it like a bone prison or something that they could have easily
I think it's a
fallen back
really
on.
cool ability.
Yeah.
No, the ability's cool. I'm talking more we're just talking artwork
okay.
at this point. That
Even visually, I think it's really cool.
I'm just curious if they could have made it so that like it probably was too much in the game if the souls were actually like trying to snap or move or like really like open and close their mouth, because if you watch how they move, they're just kind of rigid.
Well,
Yeah,
again,
people have gotten upset about them adding birds in the game. Okay, that would have been too much.
Probably would have been too much in a team fight.
if you
to
have
watch
the
these
if
things
you have the
move.
W doing too much and snapping at people, and you have these 8 flashy ghouls, and you have the Maiden of the Mist, that's I don't know what you want out of that.
Yeah, I'm
A
probably
shinier specter or
nitpick-
whatever.
I'm probably
it's just
nitpicking.
too much. They had to make it mostly clean.
I thought he could only have 4 ghouls active at once through
He
Maiden.
can.
he can-
So can the
yeah.
Maiden. The Maiden,
Maiden
also
that's
controls 4.
So you can
up
have
to
a
4.
maximum of 8 going on.
And they don't die
Sorta.
unless they move too far away or get
No.
killed.
Only
normally.
only
get
his
hit by
passive.
anything.
Only the passive ones die if they move too far away. Maidens and mist ones don't die.
Yeah.
Okay, either way, they don't die over time, which is ridiculous.
So, I guess we're gonna talk ability and we're gonna talk how he works. I'm just gonna run quickly down through all of his stuff, and then we can talk about how to use him and what the point of Yorick is. So, he's actually not super complicated. Essentially, every time he last hits something with a Q, he creates a grave. After he has 4 graves, and Q is on cooldown, he can activate them again. It's 4, isn't it?
3.
Yeah.
It's
No, it's at least
Oh,
3.
it's
Min,
3 and up to 4.
up to 4. That is. If he has at least 3, but up to 4, he can reactivate Q to raise all of the ghouls up. And then
And I guess it's worth noting that the graves will also spawn like at a fixed interval based on units that have died near him, even if
Yeah.
you aren't last hitting with Q.
right.
Yeah. And this you also like use what I don't know yet. So Awakening, the active to rise all of those Mistwalkers is a like built-in cooldown, kind of like how should I say this? Like Lee Sin's like second part of Q.
Yeah.
Like after you hit, you can then use it. It's not, you can't just like not use your Q first and then use Awakening.
Yeah.
I think you have to either Q and
You have
use
to-
the auto attack, or you have to wait till it goes on cooldown, which takes a lot. It takes a full 6 seconds.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah.
Q has to be on cooldown to use the active of Awakening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to go with that, you can use Morning Mist, which is actually pretty... it's pretty crazy, because it does 15% of the target's current health as magic damage to all enemies hit if you land it. Morning Mist, you throw it out, and if it hits something, all the ghouls attack it.
And it's an AoE. It's not like a single target that you're trying to hit. Like, it's a decent-sized area that you get to just deal a ton of
It's
damage to.
pretty small.
It's pretty big, actually.
For 15% current health, it's a big area.
It's kind of significant. Like, hitting that on any tank is a pretty good way to just start off a chunk.
Sorry, let me rewind real quick and just.
It's a pretty decent area for what it does. Like, if I go through here and you
Like,
use...
it's long and narrow, I would describe it as. It's not a circle or anything like that. So it's a little... It can feel a little clunky to use if you're really looking...
Yeah.
You know, especially if you want everything nice and clean, or that's what you're used to. But it's a pretty big area for what it's doing.
It is at least 3 Vladimirs, because I'm watching it right now. If you can picture the Vladimir model, 3 Vladimirs could fit into it in a line.
3 Vladimirs long and like 1 wide.
Right,
I'd say
1
is
wide.
pretty accurate. And I think you get enough time to react to it as you should for something that deals that much damage
And slows.
and slows. And marks them, so the Mistwalkers will go jump at them, and you get bonus move speed while moving towards them. It looked like from a lot of the videos on the Champ Spotlight, you kind of really need to hit this. And I know that doesn't say a lot about like, hey, if you don't hit your abilities, you're not going to win the fight. Like this one, you kind of really need to hit if you want your guys to if you want to stick to the target, not just because of it's slow, because you get move speed, your ghouls get move speed. It's kind of, and that's a lot of damage that you're just missing out on if you don't hit it.
He is so impressive in lane now that he only needs to hit it once.
Yeah, but you also need to time that with Graves being ready and having those Mistwalkers. He's a little bit more obvious than before.
Yeah.
Whereas past Yorick could just kind of walk up and be like, use abilities, done. Look at that. Look how that worked. As this you can kind of see a little bit more and might allow for more counterplay, but I think we'll be stronger overall in those kind of duels.
Oh, way better.
He's not nearly as good in the very early game, but once you get past like a mid-game spike, I hear he's actually pretty damn difficult to deal with in a duel.
You're also not gated by Tear the Goddess. Like you're not waiting to transform that item and running out of mana when you don't have it. So
he's okay. Well, W is the wall we spoke of, and the wall's unique in the fact that it takes a moment to come out of the ground. So as soon as he casts it, it takes about a half second. It probably says right here, doesn't it? How long it takes to come up. After a brief delay.
It looks like Swain. Looks like Swain's.
Yeah, that's a good comparison.
Move. Because it's circle and it makes a Jarvan ult. It's smaller.
But you can destroy it.
You can destroy it, and teammates can walk through it.
Yep. Which on that same video had a cool little thing where you could pretty much cast it on yourself and then walk out if your opponent doesn't have a dash or jump to get over it. Which it seems really cheeky and kind of like you're probably getting pretty screwed if you're in that situation. But that's a nice way to get out, or it's just it's unique terrain-based thing. I don't know.
I watched Punch do that, and it was actually.
I had to do that multiple times to avoid death.
Yeah.
And then I usually still die, but it was nice.
I wonder. I have to imagine that like Vayne, Condemn, and Poppy Charge have to knock this into stuns, right? Like if you hit an enemy into it, it's impassable. I would assume that has to work that way.
But since allies pass through, I'm not sure Poppy.
But you're not hitting an ally. You're not hitting an ally into it though.
Yeah.
But Poppy would register as the wall, since she can pass through.
I would.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
Poppy
if it was really close to it.
Poppy isn't registering the wall. The enemy's registering the wall.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm sure Alistar like headbutt knocks him straight out of there. He's never had issues knocking things through and over walls.
Yeah, but that's a little different in terms of the check for stun situation. Like Gnar knocking. I can't imagine Gnar would knock them through it or like out of it. I think that would probably stun them against whatever. I'm not saying you're going to get like the old Narvin combos of old Yorick. That sounds horrible.
Is like it has a pretty good uptime. So in the late game, you could certainly set up something if you have the communication with your teammate to use Poppy or Gnar ults or Condemn to set up a kill.
One difficulty with that though is the cast range on this is pretty short.
Yeah.
I only really had the opportunity to use it once I was already engaged with the enemy. If you're trying to chase somebody down, if you're trying to initiate with it, you're probably not going to have a lot of success.
It was I played into it as Gnar. It was actually pretty oppressive, even though I had a range, because those ghouls, he can get enough of them up quickly enough that if he lands an E, you're kind of screwed, and then you have to use W to get out. Plus,
E?
Yeah, I said E. Yeah, if he drops an E on you, you have enough ghouls. But I meant W. Yeah, you have to use E.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
See, right now, Yorick's in the top lane are taking Thunderlords because between two auto attacks and an E, you're doing enough damage with the auto attack resets that you could chunk somebody out. I would say he's just as oppressive, if not more, than he previously was with this new kit, and it's solely because of that 15%.
At least with the old kit, you could run out of mana. It was possible to run out of mana. With this one, I was just spamming abilities all day, and I was still at full 8 mana. I don't know how that worked.
Because Last Right is 25 mana.
Yeah.
Did you not?
What the F?
I know that this is going to throw back to kind of when Keystones came into the game, and everyone picked Thunderlords because it's great, everyone understands it, pretty obvious. And no one picked Storm Raiders for a long time. I feel like Storm Raiders would make a lot of sense on him because you have a % current health, you get extra damage when you auto attack the target made in the mist is hitting, and a few other things like you want to stick to a target anyways.
He gets it from his E. He gets 20% bonus moves.
Yeah, but then you can run past them and swag on him.
Basically on the cooldown of his Q. So every time you hit Q and then turn around and hit something, you're getting like a ton of healing coming your way because of grass.
Yes.
In addition to the healing from Q.
I think he's oppressive enough in lane because of how slow his mana costs are that the Thunderlords is definitely the way to go on him. The extra life and whatnot you gain through that, and armor, magic penetration. I mean, humorously, we haven't talked about Eulogy of the Isles yet, but Yorick is one of the only champions that's doing both physical and magic damage, something that they took away a very long time ago from a lot of champions.
And scaling from just AD. Getting scaling on both from just AD. Granted, E scales with AP, but Maiden of the Mist gets more magic damage via AD, and it's a 50% AD ratio.
Yeah.
That's a damage per second. That's fucking
it's
bonkers.
insane.
So if you have like 150 AD, that's 75 magic damage per second.
Without considering the base too.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Plus, you get more when you're auto attacking that target. Plus, she has ghouls
Bonus
herself.
magic damage is percent health, and it's up to 10% of target's maximum health. Like 10%.
Every 2 seconds. Thankfully, that would be too crazy. Plus, I forgot about the other part. She can hit turrets. Like, she could just walk up and start dealing damage to the turrets, doing the same thing.
So, Eulogy of the Isles, Yorick summons the Maiden of the Mist along with several Mistwalkers, and the number of Mistwalkers that she can have up is dependent on the level of the ability. So she starts with 2 and goes up to 4. And the cool thing about Eulogy Isles is that you could summon that in a side lane, for example, and she will just start pushing the side lane down on her own, and he does not need to be there. Well, she's supposed to. It
Depends on how she feels.
Why does she start attacking jungle monsters?
It also might depend on where you summon her.
Yeah.
It said it's supposed to go down a lane if either Yorick or lane minions are ahead of her. So if there were lane minions ahead of her and you summoned her, she would go along even if Yorick didn't. Whereas otherwise, if Yorick's ahead of her, she'll just kind of start following that. I feel like there's a lot of coding that went into this.
I think the AI is based mostly on lanes, but if Yorick is in combat anywhere remotely close to her, she will come and join him for that.
Yeah.
So she'll prioritize generally Yorick on that one.
The description says in a large radius if he's in combat with an enemy champion. So
I did summon her in the jungle once, and she did do a good job of backing me up. But then after the fight was over, she just kind of stood around like, all right, what do we do next, Yorick? I'm like, let's go to this lane. Let's go to this lane over here. I was trying to beckon her over to mid lane, and she was kind of staring at me for a while. Eventually, she went to the lane. But I think the AI was confused for a little bit.
Does hitting R not reactivate anything, kind of like Tibbers or old Yorick ults would? Like, you can't control
I tried
it
that.
You can't target her, no.
Nah, she and the ghouls all just have minds of their own, which thematically makes a lot of sense. So.
Yeah.
I thought, I don't think one thing we mentioned is she does summon a couple ghouls when she spawns. It's 2, 3, or 4, depending on level. So she does spawn with her max, and then creates more as units die around her. Unlike Yorick, who has to use the skill for awakening, she'll just do it on her own. And one thing you could see is if you summon her after you've marked somebody with E, the ghouls that she spawns will still jump because that target is marked for 4 seconds. They'll still get their jump afterwards, even though they weren't alive when the mark was applied, which is pretty cool because like you could wait on it and then say, "Hey, let's go! I hit the E."
Yeah, but you have to use it in time though.
Than it is, but like if I'm recalling it correctly, they can't be next to each other and each have 4 ghouls. It's sort of 4 ghouls. They can each have 4 ghouls unless they're right next to each other. Then it's 4 ghouls total.
I'm gonna check on some of that.
Like Yorick can't raise them up again as long as the lady is as long as the maiden is kind of resurrecting them. But if she goes to push one lane and Yorick goes to another one, then they can have 4 ghouls apiece.
Well, if you were curious, I actually have some reworked Yorick's tricks to help you play him a little more. First and foremost, the turret aggro priority is Cannon, Walker, Maiden, Minion. So,
and she's got a ton of health, so actually she could tank the turret for a surprisingly long time for a minion.
At level 16, she's got 3,000 health base, plus 30% of Yorick.
She had more health than I did.
She's got too much health. Like, you can't kill her. You can't, like, just drop her in the middle of the fight.
That's some insane improvement there. Holy shit.
Yeah,
Because at level 6, 700, that's like Ash.
Yeah, the fact that it also scales off of your own max health by 30% seems really unnecessary.
Buy a lot of.
Yeah, you're already playing a bruiser character. Like, I understand you're trying to make it so, hey, we're making him a bruiser. You don't need this too. You already had enough stuff built in the kit that makes him a good bruiser. Stop putting more.
They gave his secondary role as a tank, So they see a world where you might build Tank Yorick. And I can only imagine the horror that is the Maiden if he's building tons of HP.
It's also
8,000 HP Maiden.
it's very smart, Pone, what you said there with in terms of the prioritizing, because if they had done it any other way in terms of the Maiden being any further down the priority below, like, I don't know, melee or ranged minions, then she could just go push a lane by herself and never die. Like, she could just be rezzing ghouls, constantly create a situation where they never die. That'd be kind of ridiculous, and you'd end up with a giant ZZ Rot portal, but in champion form and on a much better, like,
I really want to see the Maiden solo kill somebody. That would make my night.
She essentially could.
I don't know.
I mean, we don't have
take her a long time.
Renegades or Dignitas in the LCS anymore, but I'm sure someone will manage it.
I mean, everybody knows that his Q resets his auto attack. That should be obvious just by the way the ability works, because it's like a Nasus. Some interesting things is that you can cast W inside of a wall, and it will not have a visual warning. Well, much like how the old Vagar W used to work. So if you start the cast inside of a wall, you won't see that it's coming up. And I'm sure that will get fixed later.
So if you want to trap somebody against a wall, they'd have to be hugging that wall, though.
More than less or near it.
I mean, Talia would be vulnerable to it.
Does the new Q also still gain auto attack range? It looked like it did from the video, but I don't see anything.
I don't think it does.
Oh no, sorry, it gains 50 range. My bad. It used to be a lot more.
Oh, okay.
So it like looking at the old numbers, it was like 175 range. Which, granted, when you're melee, the difference between like 150 and 300 isn't very much. But that 50 range is always going to be nice in that situation.
Okay, well, we'll continue on this list. Why not? E will cause Mistwalkers to jump on enemies in fog of war or who are invisible, which is actually really nice to use.
So if you can land it on a Wukong who's trying to escape, you can get your ghouls to chase him.
It won't. Yeah, it won't. Yeah. Dom?
Oh, I just remembered the Poppy thing, and I was like, wait, we're talking about Yorick tips, not Yorick counterplay.
Yeah, we'll talk about that too.
Something I just thought about with the Q, the heal that's on it, and I think is kind of weird, is you're kind of rewarded for like waiting till you're directly below 50% health to get to use it for the heal. Whereas a lot of things scale based on how much health you're missing, like linearly. This is a complete jump of doubling the healing if you like wait till, hey shit, I shouldn't use my Q. I'm not at 49% health yet. Oh, there I am. Boom. Now I used it. You get so much more healing, which seems really kind of weird because I can't think of a lot of other things that act like that besides like rumble heat, but that doesn't really count.
Yeah.
It's probably
Is it the same way?
Stop him.
Yeah.
But no one plays him, so that doesn't really count.
Aatrox might even be like way more.
I'm checking that real quick. I'm curious. I'm doing it too.
We're all looking up Aatrox.
Oh yeah, you're right. It is below 50% health. The heal's tripled, and yeah.
Oh wow.
Okay. All right.
Aatrox is a champion.
He exists.
I forgot.
And people were very excited
they're
for
opposite
him.
ends of the alphabet.
Well, humorously, people were very excited for Aatrox for a while, and he was good, granted, for a little bit, but because his left arm was stronger than his right, or whatever it was, and they were like, oh, he's the opposite of Tryndamere, or he has something to do with Tryndamere because he's wielding a big sword in his left hand and not his right hand, and that type of stuff. Do you guys remember that? I remember that being all over the forums.
I think you're crazy.
All over the forums.
Conceptually, I thought he was a kind of.
I am at this point sort of moderately convinced he was just a dream I had.
Well, the last little tip that I have is that you can actually cast Maiden on the walls similarly to Flash to extend the range of it. So
okay.
Does that
So you
force her
can get
down
it on the
lane
other
then?
side of a wall.
Yeah, if you want her on the other side of a wall, or you want her to go a little further, you can cast it on the wall.
Oh,
and
okay.
she'll-
That's a really niche situation, but knowing it is half the battle.
Right. Well, you could R over the wall and then E and have all the minions jump from Maiden onto the person because E has similar range. Like
You could actually probably, I don't know if there's a cast time on R, but you could probably like E and then R if you think it's going to hit.
I don't
Make
know
sure
how
it
long it
hits.
takes to summon stuff or any of that. Like that might be a ping type of thing.
I mean, I feel like these numbers are hilarious to me because he's obviously at a shitty win rate. Like he's just like Talia when she came out. He's just like post Kled. Who's the other rework that happened that just like dropped to Swain was
Rise.
horrible for a while, and that wasn't really a rework though. Rise, yeah, it was. No, sorry, Rise was. horrible win rate, but it's because people don't know what they're doing yet. But everyone's playing him and doing shitty because
he's pretty damn good right now. He's a big lane bully.
So all right. The funniest graph, if anyone wants to go Champion GG and have a fun laugh at stupid numbers, is he hovers around like 45% win rate, let's say, through 125 games played, but at 125 games plus is at 70% win rate.
Oh yeah,
Yorick?
yeah, Yorick.
Yep.
Okay.
So nerfs are coming.
Oh no, nerfs are 100% coming. When you look at him and you see that there will be mana nerfs, I'm sure, and there has to be the percentage of health nerf coming at some point as well on his E, because just the fact that he has a 25 mana cost Q that is spammable that
Does a ton of damage.
That does a ton of damage and heals him for a lot. Has to go up to about 40 mana or 40 mana scaling up to 60 or something to help with that, because 25 mana cost is too low for any champion to have. To be a laning champion.
40 on his old Q was okay because you had to use the other ones almost as spammably as Q. Now that you only have to spam one of them, you can't make it 25.
The sustain is tied with his Q now.
I mean, I think they really wanted to avoid the situation where he is tied to this one specific item and can't build anything else, or he's tied to tiers, and that's just going to so dramatically delay both his item power spike and really his damage and overall ability power spike, because he's just waiting so long to charge up that stupid item.
I think the one thing they wanted to avoid more than that was him not being terrible. I think that's what they wanted to avoid with this rework, and said, hey, let's maybe like overtune this guy a little bit and let him be played for a while.
It could just be a thing of like, we need to make people forget just how shitty Yorick really was.
Yeah, and he didn't really fit he didn't fit the hyper carry. Like, he used to be good when hyper carries were good because you could ult them, and now those don't exist. Like, that's not even close to the meta right now. So it makes sense, obviously, to completely detach from that and give yourself your own hyper carry that has 3,000 health at max rank. So,
and in my head, I keep going back to that Major League Gaming Summer Arena thing, where it was like the first time North American audiences, and probably European, but first time like a bunch of us saw Koreans actually compete against North American in Europe. And you're like,
everyone?
Huh? Yeah, it was Zubu.
Zubu Blaze, right? They crushed everybody.
And Yorick, like North America and I think Europe, we're just gunning the hell out of Yorick and everything, and he like lost every single game that he was in, and it was just like, hey, yeah, you guys are prioritizing like a bad champion.
I think so. An interesting thought I had while I was thinking about this champion was that so Yorick is obviously oppressive in lane, and I think a lot of that win rate, that 70% win rate, has to be with the fact that he's just able to hard push. He's able to get ahead early, build Triforce. He's able to use Thunderlords to his advantage and just stay in the lane or roam to a lane and just help push shit down really, really, really fast, right? But if we get to an actual team fight, or that we use Yorick in the way that Riot wants him to be used, like maybe use air quotes on that, where they want him to drop Maiden into the mist in a side lane and let Maiden push down and be the split pusher while Yorick groups up. Does Yorick really do anything in a team fight without Maiden in the mist? Or yeah,
I mean,
at least he has W now.
He has the W, and he has the E, which is like, that's a good chunk ultimately.
Sure, but that's
like
all
before
he does, right?
only had like that AoE slow, which was mostly ignorable. But now he can actually trap somebody in a W and then rush forward to meet them. If he gets an AD carry in the W, then that person is trapped. He could walk right up next to them, cue them in the face, shovel smack, and they're in trouble.
On the assumption that you're getting Trinity Force, which, based on everything I've seen, seems like at least a Sheen item of some sort, is pretty core on Yorick right now. Between that and a couple of other things, like the Q ends up going for almost 1,000 damage, which on basically an auto attack ability, that's a high number for a bruiser.
There's also a lot of power. There's also a lot of power in the dark precision, the wall thing. Like, if you are at the Baron or at the Dragon, you can block off the entrance with that, and you can trap a team, and they force them to spend flashes or escapes just trying to get out of the pit or get into a better teamfight situation. And the same in the jungle. It's like anyone who has terrain manipulation like that, where enemies have to either flash or start spending auto attacks on the wall, there's power there if you use it right.
It shouldn't be too I don't think it's gonna be as debilitating though, because if a whole team just says auto attack once, it's gone.
Yeah, it's not like on a Nivea wall. Yeah,
It's not
They can
that
kill it pretty
crazy,
quickly.
but
No,
yeah,
there's still a
it is
panic factor.
disruption. It's disruption, and it does. It's solo queue. People aren't going to be like, "Hey guys, type. You should attack the wall right now." Shit, it's over.
I do think one cause for concern, and this is probably what you were thinking, Adam, is that he doesn't really have the opportunity to build up his goals during a
Right.
team fight.
Yeah.
I do think he could get them in a siege, however. You're sitting outside the base, there's going to be plenty of minion corpses, and then that's going to be his opportunity to actually, bring those ghouls to a fight. But if something just spontaneously breaks out in mid game or mid lane, he's probably going to be weaker. So in the one game, yeah, I played like one whole game with Yorick, right? And I fell behind early in lane, but I still felt like I still felt like I hit a mid game power spike. Like I was doing lots of work during team fights, even though I fell behind. So I was wondering, if I did get ahead, and if I am that person with 125 games, I snowball the lane. Do I just roll over people in team fights? Is that what Yorick does? Because he does so much damage?
He also like the concern about building those up might be a little bit not a non-issue if you're summoning the maiden and you just get those 4, and if that is true that if you two are together you can only have the 4.
Right.
Then you
But
already
that
have
was the
max
question.
there.
Do you use
Yeah,
Maiden
I
to
don't
split
know.
push, or do you use Maiden
Oh,
in team
yeah.
fights?
Yeah.
I mean, he deals a lot more damage if she is around and attacking the same thing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
her damage on towers and everything isn't that high. She's more there to just tank turret hits and everything so that other stuff can go on. And I know she's low on the priority there. I mean, but like if she's around, every time he attacks a target that she's fighting, he's dealing 10% of their max health in additional damage. So that's a big number.
It wouldn't surprise me if he's able to do a lot. Like I know that there's obviously the do you split push, do you team fight, whatever. I feel like if you're behind, you should be able to. Correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like you should be able to split push because you're going to catch up a lot of damage with Maiden. You're going to be able to do a whole lot if you have that 1v1. But if you're ahead, you might as well join your team because otherwise they're maybe losing a lot of that ability. If you guys are pushing, I guess if you want to just split push for forever, you can do that. But if you're the only person ahead, I feel like they're going to get kind of stomped.
Yeah.
This is also with a combined one game played between the 5 of us.
I've seen Yorick enough in games.
Yeah, I've run into him and I've had him on my team, but
Yeah, I haven't played him, but
He's new.
I've seen him enough to form a pretty good opinion about it. I actually wanted Sean to jump on here because I know Sean played it, but I think he had a similar reaction to Punch, where either he got ahead early or he got behind, but still felt like he was powerful at some point. Or I know what he played the one game and he said he didn't know how it happened, but suddenly he was basically two-shotting people, and it was after picking up. He went to
Sometime
Mana
around-
route.
Oh, did he? Okay. I was going to say, it was sometime around Trinity Force when that started happening.
I wonder if Supportic is going to be a
Unsurprisingly.
thing. If you could
I
just
don't-
I don't think so, but
because-
I always want to think about it.
Sporic.
So I thought about it, and the big reason I don't think it's going to be a thing is because a lot of his kind of laning harass is going to come from the ghouls, which, you're going to get them whenever you execute a thing, but then you're going to be really, it's going to be kind of long waits before you can do anything with the ghouls in a lot of cases, because Relic Shield doesn't charge quickly early on.
Yeah,
No.
and unlike Trundle, he doesn't bring anything but a wall to the late game fights. Trundle is great because he can remove AD and he can remove armor and MR through his ultimate and steal life. Yorick, as the support role, does what? Split pushes.
Yeah, I guess in a lane swap, you could do a very aggressive tower pushing comp where Yorick provides a lot of extra bodies, so you can just rush through the tower and get a tempo advantage. But I don't think that would ever work in solo queue.
It's hard to. You're relying on a top laner that understands how to deal with a lane swap, and the majority of them below plat and probably below diamond, but the majority of them just don't know how to handle that type of thing.
No.
We just
It
got
did
punched.
seem easy. It did seem easy to screw up the lane, and this also applies to the hypothetical support Yorick. It seemed easy to screw up the lane by summoning ghouls and then either missing the E or just not using it properly, because then your ghouls just start pushing the wave, or they're attacking something else besides the person that's beating your face in.
I could see
They're
that.
kind of like, "Ghouls, help me out," and they're not. They want nothing to do with you.
They're like, nah,
Yeah,
I'm
and
gonna
do
do
it.
these arms of these minions. These taste delicious.
Right.
Thanks for
I
trying.
would 100% do it though. I would try it at least a couple times.
Well,
But yeah,
And
I mean, you
probably-
run that risk with support pushing the wave, which, some off supports always run that risk where, they do incidental damage, so now the wave is pushing, and now you're outside the turret and you're in gank range, and yeah.
listen, if you're trying
ugly.
that, I'm gonna go ahead and play attack speed Braum in that game.
As our AD carry, yeah, it'll be
Go
great.
for it.
No, as our jungler, attack speed Braum jungle. Have you heard? That is the new hotness right now.
It's no, there's no hot going on.
It's very hot.
It is as
cool.
much
Is-
the hotness as we are the premier, as we are called the premier League of Legends
That's
podcast.
right.
Yes, that's how hot it is.
Punch, it does believe in the attack speed Nautilus, though.
No, that is a total lie.
He gave it a
It
7
looks
out of 10.
hilarious.
2 out of 10. 2 out of 10 is generous.
No, you give that Braum a 2 out of 10. The attack speed Nautilus, you give it 7 out of 10.
Nautilus is okay.
You believe in attack speed Nautilus. That's just because
I
Nautilus
believe
can
in
actually
Nautilus.
gank.
At least Nautilus has a good ultimate and he can catch people.
Braum's
Braum is-
ultimate is great. You
No.
shut your filthy liar mouth.
Not when Adam is using it.
What?
not great.
Excuse
Well,
me.
okay, but you separate the ultimate from the player using that ultimate.
Well, I'm tying
Yeah.
attack speed Braum to Ponophobia because he's the only person playing it and saying that it's good.
I'm saying
what
it's
did we,
good
what
in
did
a
we figure out
bubble.
you have to do, Adam? 125 games a week for 2 weeks?
Yeah, I was talking to
get that show
Dom.
up?
I said, I really want to get attack speed Braum to show up in the champion GG list of junglers. And it was something like we had to have, 6 people playing 19 games a day for a week? Or something like that to get it to show up.
No problem.
I mean, obviously this math is wrong. You needed something like 500 or 450 games or something minimum to even potentially show up on there.
All right, this is a call out to all our listeners. Attack speed Braum, jungle.
But it has to be Plat Plus. That's the other problem. It has to be Plat Plus. Has to be in ranked only.
Okay, get to plat first, and then tank your MMR by playing attack speed Braum jungle.
But then it doesn't help.
Please.
If they
Do it
take
for
their
us.
MMR, it doesn't work.
This will show up on Champion GG within the week because this is the premier League of Legends podcast, and the legions of listeners will surely rise to the
They
occasion.
won't let us down.
Yes, you face not only me alone, but the legions that I command.
Like Yorick.
You're welcome for that. But at the same time, Dom, there was an Aurelian Soul jungle that was top. He was at like 54 or 56% win rate. We should have looked to see how many games played he had, because he may have only had 100 games played for that week.
608.
Wait, there were 608 Aurelian Soul jungle games played when he was.
Yes.
Is he still that high?
He's second.
Who the
highest.
fuck is playing Aurelian Soul jungle to put him on champion GG?
Jungle Mordekaiser only has 337.
Well,
But I think what it really is like the play percentage against all Mordekaiser play in Plat Plus, and there's only, in top lane Mordekaiser, there's only 1,200 games.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Let's see how much Braum's getting played overall. No, there's no chance.
So you're telling me if I play 40 games over the course of this weekend that I won't show up in champion GG?
Braum's got 22,600 games in support.
Yeah, there's no chance. Damn it. Well, that dream was short-lived.
Would it make any sense to... I've had this fantasy of Yorick where I built Banner of Command and CC Rot Portal,
I thought that
and I
was going
just
somewhere
split
else.
pushed like a motherfucker.
Cancer Yorick, I think that's what that's called.
Yeah, pretty much. I suspect it'll work in low elo, but I don't... is there any chance it works above gold?
I mean,
You're wasting
Worth
a lot
trying.
of ability power there. I mean,
That's true.
to do what? To set up the perfect storm of split pushing?
Morning Mist does scale off of ability power, and it's decent scaling, but the rest of his abilities scale off AD, even if Eulogy of the Isles is dealing magic damage, which is kind of why I think they're just trying to pigeonhole into that, handful of bruiser items with damage, but otherwise just, going full tank. It's because to try and do anything else with him, you're really stretching your itemization out.
Yeah. I just want to have a horde, just a massive horde, and just fuck anyone who doesn't know how to defend their
Skyen,
towers.
I am playing attack speed Braum jungle. There is nothing stopping you from living your dreams. I've played it more than once in Diamond Plus. Like I'm saying, there's nothing stopping you. Except
Have you
for
ever
yourself.
won with it in
I've
Diamond
won
Plus?
it. I'm 2-1 with it. Out of the jungle. Yeah, I saw that look. I'm 2-1 with attack speed Braum jungle right now. I'm going to make this thing happen. Believe. You go Blood Razor, Wit's End, and then you go straight into defensive.
And then you go kill yourself.
Cereal Box took his headset off. He's done. Bye, Cereal. You can go ahead and put the headset back on. All right, I think that's it. I think we're going to call it there. We pretty much went through Yorick. I hope you guys enjoy Skyen on the podcast. I know we've had some tweets and some messages that I really enjoy him on.
Skyen.
And you know what? And if you don't, we love him. So he's coming back on for the next one.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Besides, Skyen, you got to come on and talk about Malachi's brother or father or whatever the hell this next champion is.
The tree. The tree guy who has instantly been turned into a Pepe meme. I just saw on Twitter. Took him about 5 minutes. I'm excited for that guy. I'm interested to see what the hell they've come, because it looks like that guy is going to be a jungler who doesn't kill jungle monsters.
Yes.
Well,
There
he
are going to be a
can't.
lot of disappointed people if he can't create brush.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to be disappointed if he kills jungle monsters because he can't. Through everything he's saying, he can't kill a jungle monster. Like, I really want to see him, like sweep them away into a portal and be like, go, little thing, go. And then he gains the experience or something from it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
My personal theory is he uses them as pets. Like, he can go up to the red buff and go, follow me, and then he has a big brambleback companion for a while, but we'll see.
Yeah, I got to figure out how he gains experience to that. Yeah, it's gonna be fun, right? Like I love this is probably the first champion I've seen first. Like I'm gonna go, oh man, theory crafting, and then we're gonna see.
Yeah, like you can't. It's hard to figure out what he's gonna do and what he's gonna be just by looking at that little reveal so far.
Yeah, because he needs some way to take jungle minions out of play, and if that way is significantly disruptive to the enemy jungler, then you can be a counter jungling motherfucker. But we'll see. I'll come back on and talk about it by then.
Or he might end up being a support. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Oh
either.
God, no.
All right, well that's it.
I mean, there hasn't been one since Tom Kench, so
that's it. We're done, guys. That's
a year ago.
That's the Yorick show. Skyen, castercomics.com with an X. Go check him out. Go support him on Patreon. I know we are supporting him on Patreon every single month, and he'll draw you lots of pretty pictures or do anything you want. Skyen,
within reason, Adam. I keep telling you, within reason.
I was just gonna ask
me those emails.
I was just gonna ask you how far would your pretty pictures go?
I can draw anything people want. I will not necessarily be happy about it.
You heard it here first, boys.
What he's saying is there is a price on his dignity.
There's I mean, I'll sell my dignity for rent money any day. That's how it goes for an artist.
All right, man. What's dignity do you when you're dead?
Yeah, does dignity pay rent? No.
Yeah.
Commissions do.
Yeah. Filthy commissions.
Dignity's about as useful as exposure.
Well, speaking of exposure.
No, Adam, I said no more of those emails.
Oh, wow.
I don't care how many times you send me that picture, I'm not drawing it.
But you enjoy it every time. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Trinity Force Podcast. Thank you for supporting Skyen. And we will be back on Monday with Dom again, and we'll be talking we're going to be talking some fun.
I told you I won't be there Monday.
Oh, that's right. Monday, Dom won't be here. Well, we won't be back Monday with Dom. We will be back Monday with something else, and we'll be back Wednesday with patch 6.19. So there it is, guys. We will see you all next week.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.